Hello everybody, this is Crazy Ryno of the Bagel Club, finally back. I know it's a little late, but it is time for this week's Extra Bagels. Finally getting to this. Alright, so I have a couple things to talk about this week. For one, of course, the goings-on this week in TNA, and two, finally, after delaying it for far too long, and delaying it at all because reasons, because I'm bad at scheduling things, I'm going to talk about Smash Wrestling and the Smash Wrestling Uncensored event. Boy was it quite a show. But first, we start with TNA and this past week's episode of Impact Wrestling. Holy crap, I can't speak. So, we had a couple things start off the show, but I will get to those later because they coincide with a couple segments that happen later in the show, and I kind of want to group all the things together as far as storyline wise. So we're going to start with as soon as I find in my notes the third segment of the show, actually, which was quite a big match. It was the Ultimate X Gauntlet match to determine the new X Division champion, and boy, was this a match. It started off with Trevor Lee and DJZ. After a couple minutes, new entrants would be put into the match, starting with Andrew Everett, then Mandrews, then Braxton Sutter, and then finally Rockstar Spud. This was a very high-octane, crazy, flippy shit match. It very, very entertaining. All 6 men delivered. 6 men, right? Yeah, 6 men delivered. Big time. A couple highlights of the match, which I typed down in my notes, was the two members of the Helms Dynasty, Andrew Everett and Trevor Lee, doing a combination drop toe hold into a huge knee on DJZ. It was a big knee because of that the momentum from the toe hold. It looked brutal. Brutal. Mandrews did a very, very nice looking counter of a suplex, flipping it in, turning it into a stunner. I forgot to type down who it was, but it was a really good counter. Andrew Everett, an incredible looking moonsault from the top rope all the way to the apron, or not the apron, all the way to the floor, knocking over a bunch of guys. There was a big series of a bunch of high-impact moves, kind of getting towards the finish, just everybody hitting big move after big move, and then getting hit with a big move, and then that guy's getting hit with a big move, etc., etc., etc. It was fantastic stuff. Then, as far as the only actual, feud within the X Division, which is kind of the only problem I have with the X Division right now, is they're all just kind of clumped together with no real rhyme or reason, except for the ongoing feud between Rockstar Spud and Braxton Sutter, because, Sutter kicked some teeth out of Spud, and he's holding a grudge and wants to get revenge. Sutter was going for the belt, but Rockstar Spud decided to bring a steel chair into the fray and pretty much pummel Sutter with it. So I would like to see, an actual blow off to that feud between Sutter and Spud. I think actually having feuds within the X Division instead of just kind of be like, hey, here's the X Division, all of them, blah. I think it'll be nice. It would be nice, and that's a feud I want to see. Because Rockstar Spud seems cool, and I know Braxton Sutter a little bit from Smash Wrestling as Pepper the Body. So, it was cool. At the end of the match, though, was very interesting, as both members of the Helms Dynasty climbed opposite sides of the Ultimate X structure. They both grabbed the belt, actually unhooked the belt, but they both had a hand on it. But who would fly by through the air but one Mr. DJZ, snatching the belt from both of them. DJZ is the new X Division champion, and it's its first title reign in over 4 years, apparently, according to him. I don't really know much about TNA, so I'm just going by what they say. So that was a very entertaining match. X Division looks great. All 6 men performed wonderfully, and I would like to see more out of the Rockstar Spud Braxton Sutter feud. That's for damn sure. Moving on, we had a promo featuring Drew Galloway, which basically solidified his heel turn that was started last week when he attacked Aaron Rex. He called out the fans, saying, instead of cheering for the awesome match he had between EC3, they instead cheered for the freaking ref, aka Aaron Rex. So he kind of turned on them. He called out Aaron Rex. He wants to beat the crap out of Aaron because can't beat the crap out of the fans. That's not right. Only Matt Hardy can do that. Well, he can eat them at least. Instead, he gets a visit from Billy Corgan, of course, the new TNA president, who was going to suspend Drew, but little birdie gave him a better idea. Drew assumed it was Dixie Carter, but it turns out it was actually Aaron Rex, who came out to the stage, and they had a nice little brawl that was attempted to be broken up by security, but they kind of failed, as security does with these brawls. They ended up actually having to be separated by the X Division. They were there trying to break the shit up, and they actually did. It was it's a good brawl. We now know what Aaron Rex's first actual feud within TNA is going to be with, and it's with Drew Galloway, which is really interesting because, a couple guys who basically, got a new opportunity after WWE decided to hell with them. And it's going to be a cool feud, and they're kind of working that into the feud with Galloway, claiming Aaron Rex is doing the exact same thing he did when he first came over to TNA. Kind of shitting on the E and stuff, and I think this will be a great feud. I mean, they're both talented wrestlers, and I'm really looking forward to this battle. And it'll be interesting to see heel Drew Galloway now, since, he just off his fresh turn here. And yeah, it's going to be some good shit. Now we move on to another match, which was kind of the low point of the show, just because there wasn't really a build-up to the match. Unlike pretty much every other segment of the show, one thing I've noticed TNA is fairly consistent with is making all these segments, matter and, develop a story. But the problem with this is these two didn't really have a story to fall back on, so they were just kind of thrown into the match, and that was Ethan Carter III, EC3, versus Eli Drake. So, it was just kind of a match that was just there. Eli Drake wanted to prove a point, kind of put himself more towards the front row of the title picture, the world title picture. And EC3, well, he was there. And he ended up picking up the win of this match, which was a very solid match between the two. It was actually quite a good, well-contested match, and I'm going to be honest, I'm more of a fan of Eli Drake than EC3. I don't know, I just can't get behind the EC3 bandwagon. Just seems like kind of one of those frat boy type people to me. I don't know how to explain it. Nothing against him, he's definitely good, but I just can't get behind him. And I like Eli Drake. I don't know why. Maybe I am a dummy. Yeah. Dummy. Yeah. Dummy. Yeah. Who knows? It was a good match. Not really. It was just kind of one of those. It was like a house show style match where they were put together just to have a wrestling match with no real build up or stakes to them. I liked it for what it was. Oh boy. Then we get on to the knockout section. So we had us a championship celebration for Allie, the new Knockouts champion, but it turns out it wasn't for Allie. We had a run-in with Allie had a run-in with Sienna, who pretty much wanted to kick her ass, but Maria stopped her from doing that, told her to go to the back, take the night off, etc., etc. And Maria Oh boy, Maria Kanellis Bennett. She basically said, that this celebration isn't for you, Allie. It's for me. Lay down on the ground. Get a ref out here. And, well, after some, reluctancy, Allie finally laid down on the ground as her job was threatened. And Maria pinned her for the 1-2-3. New Knockouts champ, Maria Kanellis Bennett. But to add insult to injury, she actually forced Allie to put the belt around her waist and announce Maria as the winner and the champion, which she did with tears in her eyes. It was some great character work by Allie. This is really interesting to see her character develop, and I can't wait to see, for all intents and purposes, the cherry bomb come out of Allie. When she, quote-unquote, learns to wrestle and becomes an actual figure of the knockout division in TNA. Because, from what I've seen, she's pretty good. I mean, I've mostly just seen her in her matches with Rosemary and Smash, but still, it's good. It takes two people to make a feud work, and she's the second person in the feud, which is my favorite feud in wrestling right now. So, honestly, this segment worked. It was a pretty good segment, I believe. Maria's, pushing her authority around since she's the leader of the Knockouts division. Now she's the champion. With her and Mike Bennett being basically the giant assholes of the company who are all about me. I deserve all the everything. Be interesting to see what happens down the road here between Maria, Sienna, Allie, Billy Corgan even. See how he reacts to it, maybe. It's especially going to be interesting to see Sienna's reaction to this, because I don't think she's going to take it too lightly, considering, she was the Knockouts champion up until last week. So, yeah, that'll be interesting to find out next week. So, we finally get on to the two main segments of the show. First, starting off with what happened in the opening segment of the show, which was a promo with the Miracle Mike Bennett, who was trying to fix things between him and Moose. Lashley would come out. Lashley was so confident about his match with Bennett, he actually made this a no disqualification match. Moose finally showed up during this promo and declared that he would decide who walks out as champ at the end of the night, because he's tired of Bennett's shit and he doesn't like Lashley. So yeah, fast forward to later in the show, backstage, Moose and Bennett. Bennett was, getting Moose on the same page. We are a team. We. He actually gives Moose a lead pipe to use to help him win later against Lashley. And then we get to the actual match, which was a pretty damn good match. Both men actually did well. Maria did a bunch of distracting because, it's a no DQ match. Maria actually, at one point, grabbed her newly acquired knockout title and just full steam ahead threw it and her body right into Lashley's face, mostly the belt into Lashley's face. It was pretty brutal hit, I'm not gonna lie. Moose ended up showing up, just kind of watching the match for a while, when finally, towards the end, Bennett goes to get the pipe from Moose to use it on Lashley, but Moose kind of fakes him out. Yep, Moose fakes him out, Lashley hits a spear. Lashley wins the match, retains the world title, but we're not done yet, as Bennett recovers enough to berate the shit out of Moose for, not doing what he wanted, and it would lead to Moose hitting a huge discus clothesline on Mike Bennett and solidifying a face turn for Moose. And pretty much going to lead into a Miracle Moose feud, which is going to be pretty interesting. I don't know. I like Moose. He's pretty good. I'm still getting acquainted with some of these guys, of course, since, I've only been watching TNA for, like, a month or so now, so, well, the non-Decay segments, at least. So, I'm still getting used to everybody. I know Moose is a new player in the game, but yeah, this was a pretty good segment. Lashley retains, as expected. He's still going to face EC3 at Bound for Glory for the title. And it's going to be a pretty interesting to see feud between The Miracle and Moose. And I liked it a lot. But there's one more thing that happened on Impact, and I saved it for last because it's the thing I care about the most. Oh boy. So, before the show even started, we were greeted with a video of the Hardy family at the compound singing a wonderful piano rendition of Obsolete, the Obsolete song. It was great, and King Maxwell's expert piano playing gave Broken Matt Hardy a premonition, which prompted him and Brother Nero to hightail it to the Zone of Impact, while Senor Benjamin Vanguard 1 were tasked with protecting King Maxwell and Rebecca. We move on to the actual show. We have a match between Broken Matt Hardy and Crazy Steve. A couple things to note here is Crazy Steve came out alone, no Abyss or Rosemary in sight, and Brother Nero was with Matt Hardy. This was a thing. The start of this match was, like I said in this week's Bagel Club, it was one of my big favorite moments of the week. It was quite an interesting stare down of crazies with Matt Hardy doing his, thing, and Crazy Steve laughing maniacally, which led into a test of strength, which turned into a taste of strength, as the test of strength was Matt and Steve trading bites on each other's arm, eating each other's arm. This was quite the battle. Match went on towards the end. Brother Nero got involved as he beat the crap out of Crazy Steve with his fist inside a boot, which will lead to a twist of fate, and Matt Hardy picks up the win, but all is not over as Crazy Steve gets the last laugh and tells Matt Hardy basically why, Rosemary and Abyss aren't around. For Decay is everywhere, including the Hardy compound, and gave Matt the final line with fucking holy crap. I'm sorry, my brain's gone to shit. King Maxwell no longer belongs to the Hardys, for he is now Rosemary's baby, which led to Matt and Brother Nero hightailing it out of the Zone of Impact to warn the family of a possible invasion by Rosemary or Abyss. And then we had a bunch of vignettes throughout the show, which continue this story. Matt FaceTiming Rebby to warn them about that. Vanguard 1 confirming that there was a intruder, which turned out to be Rosemary, who, after going to the safe room with King Maxwell, Senor Benjamin finds her in the safe room. She gives Maxwell to Benjamin and leaves the safe room with a sword, mind you, a sheathed sword, to find Rosemary, which she does at the Hardy Theater, but Rosemary she's supernatural, I don't know. Point is, Rosemary went up the fire pole, and for some reason Rebby went outside. I'm not exactly sure about this one. Movie logic, I guess. Rosemary threw a fake baby, or a baby doll at Rebby, thinking it was King Maxwell from the second story balcony. But Senor Benjamin came out and shown he still had King Maxwell. with Rebby uttering the lines, "Senor Benjamin, prepare the battlefield for massacre." Which, at the end of the show, left a quick teaser video of what is basically going to be the Final Deletion sequel called Delete or Decay. It's gonna be the Hardys and Rebby meeting up at Cameron with Decay, Abyss, Crazy Steve, and Rosemary. I'm really looking forward to this. I am one of those people who thoroughly enjoyed the Final Deletion, and although this one feels more pointless since there's no major stakes other than, protecting King Maxwell, I have a feeling that Delete or Decay is going to be a good one. I don't know. Just judging by the Final Deletion, I think all 6, 7 people, if you count Senor Benjamin, are, I think they'll put on a very wonderful spectacle, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if this ended up being better than the Final Deletion. I'm really looking forward to it. Anybody who happens to be a TNA fan that listens to this, please tell me in the comments, which side are you on? Will you delete or will you decay? Of course, you know which side I'm on. I have to follow my family of death dealers, for I will decay. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. So, that was pretty much TNA Impact in a nutshell in 20 minutes. But there's one more thing I want to talk about as far as TNA. So, anybody who knows me is probably annoyed to the point of just never interacting with me again. Of me singing my praises about Rosemary and how she is the person that really got me into, she's the person that brought me into TNA, and then I discovered her as Courtney Rush, and made me fall in love with indie wrestling, and I absolutely love her gimmicks, especially her Demon Assassin gimmick outside of TNA, and it's mostly the face paint. Now, for some reason, the face paint really gets me. It just adds more character, and yeah, I could go on. I could go on and just have people hate this freaking podcast forever if I keep talking about Rosemary. But there's another person who I don't think I give enough spotlight to, who I think rightfully deserves it, especially after watching this week's Impact, and that is Crazy Steve. I think giving Crazy Steve a voice was the best thing that they've ever done with him, other than aligning himself with Decay and kind of getting rid of the whole clown gimmick. I think he works a lot better as like a demon character, definitely. But I'm so glad they let Steve talk, because he's good mic work. Like, just like Rosemary, and I'm not the only person, but one of the things that makes Rosemary so amazing is her complete 100%. I don't know how to explain it, but she makes her character her. Like, Rosemary isn't just a character she plays. She becomes Rosemary, basically. She becomes the demon. She puts that face paint on. She is that person, and she gives it 100%. And that's what makes it work so well. And I have to say the same about Crazy Steve. He makes his character and his role work really well. He gives it his all with the laughter and the sudden movements, making him seem all, messed up and warped and crazy, with 2 Z's. The fact that he was screaming and laughing last week while Matt was eating his fucking ear was great. And then, eating, drinking, like, wiping his bloody ear, tasting the blood, even wiping some of it on Brother Nero. And just the laugh, just, he gives it his all, and it's perfect. And I know I kind of said a couple things, more negative things about Abyss last week, but he's definitely, he's no slouch either. I love him in Decay, but the stars of the group definitely are Rosemary and Crazy Steve. They give it their all for these characters. They make them convincing. They make them feel like they really are, these crazy demonic people. And that's what I love so much about Decay. That's what hooks me to it. I really don't know how else to explain it, but yeah, I don't know where to go from this. It's just, I wanted to take a couple minutes out to explain why not only is Rosemary, I could explain forever why Rosemary is my current favorite wrestler in the entire world. But I just want to give that few minutes to basically give Crazy Steve the spotlight, where I think maybe he gets kind of shoved under the rug a little bit just because of how good Rosemary is in her character. But they both deserve equal amounts of praise for making their characters their own and making them so enjoyable to watch, whether it be in TNA, Smash Wrestling, wherever else they wrestle. Now, granted, I haven't seen Crazy Steve outside of TNA because I have no idea what indie promotions he wrestles for, nor if they're even, available for me to watch, but it's just, yeah. That's why Decay is my favorite stable in wrestling. That's why I don't shut the hell up about them on Twitter. That's why I annoy everybody who knows me and who I know, to the point of probably not wanting anything to do with me, whether it be a fan of my content, fan of the Bagel Club, following me on Twitter, whatever. Yeah. When I like something, I don't shut up about it. I'm sorry, and I really, really like Rosemary, Courtney Rush, Crazy Steve, Decay, Demon Assassin, Death Dealers, whatever you want to call him. Okay. I think I got my gushing over. I'm kind of glad I started this little spin-off thing so I could gush about this, because I think they deserve it, and I didn't want to annoy the shit out of Muller and Thunder with it. Yay! So, enough TNA talk. Let's move on to the thing that I've delayed for far too long, and they have another show that came out after this, that's already out on their on-demand service, but I don't give a shit. I said I was going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about it. Smash Wrestling Uncensored. Their first uncensored 19-plus show, and boy did it deliver. It's, it was quite the very enjoyable show. Before I get into the content of the show, I just want to give a quick plug to Smash Wrestling, because I do want to give them support and praise. I think they're definitely one of, if not the best, Canadian wrestling promotion, mostly because I don't know any other Canadian wrestling promotions, because I am relatively, well, not relatively, I'm completely new to the indie wrestling scene, so I don't know what's out there and what's available. But Smash Wrestling, if you live in the Toronto area, I highly recommend you try to go to one of their shows. They're actually having a huge cross-promotion weekend upcoming with Progress Wrestling, where they're going to have an uncensored show and then 2 more shows afterwards. It's going to be huge, and the card is going to be stacked, and it's going to be amazing, I think. And, if you can't make it out to the Smash show, they have all their shows on an on-demand service, which I actually pay for. It's only $7.49 US a month, and you get access to all their content as well. But if you don't want to pay money, they have a free two-week trial, which you should check out. It's just go to ondemand.smash-wrestling.com. I think it's worth the $7.5 a month myself. But I say it's worth the $7.50 a month just for the Rosemary Alley feud. That's just me. So yeah, Smash Wrestling, check him out, and maybe I can convince some people with my very vague and horrible descriptions of what happened in Smash Uncensored. So we led off with a very, very interesting match. This was a Monkeys Rules match. What the hell is that? I don't know. It's basically just a hardcore match, but it's under Monkeys Rules because this match was against Space Monkey, hence Monkeys Rules, and Jackson Jarvis, who has an amazing mustache, by the way, flanked by his friend Jay Moore, or as he was referred to as in this situation, Outback Jay Moore, or something like that. He came to the ring with a goddamn shotgun, and apparently a vest made out of Space Monkey fur. So yeah, this was quite the match. It started with Jarvis removing his gloves because he's the professional. He comes out with a little coat and white gloves, takes gloves off, slaps Monkey in the face, which Monkey returns the favor by slapping Jarvis in the face with a banana peel. Also, apparently Space Monkey really knows how to use nunchucks, because he showed off some awesome nunchuck skills. Unfortunately, they were never actually used in the match, but it was pretty nice. At one point, we actually had Jay Moore was actually very involved in this match. For all intents and purposes, it was a 2-on-1 handicap match. But also, I need to point out, this is for context later, Jimmy Corderas was the ref for this match. There was a gun in this there was a gun in the in the facility. We'll get to that later. But more shenanigans. This was a very shenanigans-filled match. This was a very funny opening match with, at one point, Jay Moore luring Space Monkey into a small cage, which was set up in the ring and uncovered shortly into the match. Had a bunch of bananas in the cage to lure Space Monkey in there, but it didn't quite work. Monkey went in the cage, grabbed a banana, kicked the door open as Moore was about to lock it. Ends up putting Moore into the cage and locking it. Which Moore freaked out because apparently he's a little claustrophobic. I don't know. But eventually, Jarvis and Moore would get the upper hand on Monkey. They would collapse the cage into just a little pile on the floor, kind of like a steel chair, a folded steel chair, except it was a folded steel cage. Like an animal cage. They would end up body slamming Space Monkey onto the cage, which I'm sure hurt like a motherfucker. And then things got weird. For Space Monkey grabbed his apparently anti-grav helmet, as it's called, his space helmet. He puts it on, which freezes time. So Jarvis, Moore, and referee Jimmy Corderas were just sitting there frozen. Space Monkey would decide to have some fun. He would actually pull down the pants of Jarvis and Moore and set them up in a very lewd situation with a banana, with Jarvis holding a banana at dick level. Moore was knelt on the ground when time was frozen, and Jimmy Corderas was also positioned in front of, or behind Jarvis. So, yeah. Once everything was set up, Space Monkey removed the helmet, restoring time, and it would lead to Corderas shoving Jarvis, who would fall and shove the banana right up Jay Moore's ass. it was a thing that happened, and then, but the shenanigans don't stop there. For Space Monkey grabbed a monkey wrench, of course, and decided to wrench it on Jarvis's his testiculars. And there's more banana penis jokes with Space Monkey grabbing a couple bananas and putting them at dick level, making Moore and Jarvis eat them. Penis jokes. It was actually hilarious. Jarvis eventually, Space Monkey would also during the time stoppage, the freezing of time, Space Monkey also laid out a bag of bananas like thumbtacks, but it was bananas on top of the folded cage that was still sitting in the ring. Fast forward a bit, Jackson Jarvis would end up laying on top of that cage and the bananas, with Monkey doing a very nice moonsault onto Jarvis, who was laying on a banana pile that was on the cage. Space Monkey would win 1, 2, 3 in a very entertaining match. I greatly enjoyed it. There was a lot of shenanigans and penis jokes because they took full advantage of the whole, uncensored 19 adults only thing. I enjoyed it a lot. So yeah, that was a really good opening match. Next up, we would have a pretty exciting women's match. I didn't write many notes about it because it was just a good back and forth match. This was the Hardcore Princess Jules Malone versus Zandra Bell, with an X, not an S. Zandra Bell, who was trying to find her inner superhero because she's a big fan of, superheroes like Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, all that jazz. It was a really nice vignette before the match for Zandra Bell to find that hero inside her. It was pretty cool. But a couple things here. It was pretty. I've actually haven't seen Jules Malone outside of like last year when she had a match with Courtney Rush, who was going through the transition into the Demon Assassin. So I haven't seen much of Jules Malone. So this is my first time seeing her after that show. She entered with a barbed wire bat, which unfortunately was not involved in the match since this was just a standard match. But she had a barbed wire bat. I guess that helps when with her hardcore princess shtick. I can dig it. But yeah, this was a very good back and forth match. Not anything substantial to note. At one point, Zandra Bale was thrown out outside, and Jules Malone would climb up on the railing, the padded railing, and deliver a very nice elbow drop on Zandra. It's good. But yeah, both of them got their offense in, but in the end, Jules, who was the hometown person, as they were in her hometown. I don't know why I needed to elaborate on that, but she would end up winning with a very good fireman carry stunner type move. I think it was called the Crown Jewels. It's her finisher. I was just trying to explain what it was for you who don't know, including myself. But yeah, Malone picks up the win, but it was once again, both women put on a great show, and yeah, it was just a solid match. I'm not really talking about it much, but that doesn't mean it was bad in any way. It was a good women's match in a promotion that is pretty good at having a bunch of good women's matches, and I definitely appreciate that. After that, we move on to a Fatal 4-Way match, which was quite the thing. We had Kevin Bennett, who was flanked by the Kevin Bennett Experience, the Muscle and Big Tank, as he always is. We had Frankie the Mobster, which is a cool buff dude who is silly at times. John Greed, who is part of the Overdogs tag team, also known as the Drunk Tank, and Tarek, who is the number 1 contender for the Smash Wrestling Championship, actually. Once again, this was a very good Fatal 4-Way. A couple things to note was Greed during John Greed's entrance, he actually went to a bar within the arena to grab a beer and stuff. We had a bunch of shenanigans before the match actually started, with Mike Bennett doing he rapped. He did a rap. It was interesting. Frankie the Mobster grabbed the microphone. He actually did his own little rap at Bennett, which was really cool and unexpected. I had no idea what they were saying because the fans were shouting. The crowd was shouting over everything they were saying on the microphones, and yeah. But it was pretty cool. It was once again not much to say about this match. This was a good fatal 4-way. Everyone did all kinds of shit. There's a lot of shenanigans. Big guy moments between Frankie and Greed. And overall, it was just a very solid match. It kind of ended suddenly, I thought, when Frankie the Mobster was thrown outside and has to deal with the Kevin Bennett experience, which he apparently managed to deal with Big Tank and the Muscle on his own, just kind of outside, and would end up going into the ring and picking up the victory just out of nowhere, really. Hitting his finisher on the Drunk Tank and getting the pin, 1, 2, 3. So yeah, Frankie the Mobster wins that. It was, like I said, it was a good match. Not, at least I didn't put anything notable in it, but it was a good, enjoyable match. And yeah, Kevin Bennett is definitely a person you love to hate just because he's a cocky motherfucker. And he's an epic rap star, and he has the Kevin Bennett experience, having his back and constantly interfering in the match as they do. I don't know much about Tarek, but I'm looking forward to his watching his Smash title match. I know he's a heel, that's all I know. And yeah, and Frankie the Mobster's a little kooky, and I like him. Like, he's a big man, but he doesn't take himself seriously all the time, or at least most of the time. I don't know. It was really enjoyable. Good fatal 4-way. I liked it. Thumbs up. Now, after that, this match I've watched probably, I don't know, 4, 5 times. Easily my favorite thing about this show because it involves, you guessed it, Rosemary. Holy crap, this match. So, this match was Rosemary versus Mike Rollins. And before we get into the actual things in the match, I thought it was a good touch that there was an actual explanation behind the name change between Rosemary and Allie, of course formerly known in Smash Wrestling and the indie scene period as Courtney Rush and Cherry Bomb, respectively. The reasoning behind the change to Rosemary was that is the name of the demon within Courtney Rush that has been unleashed. So, pretty much Courtney Rush, as the demon assassin, is now being referred to as Rosemary. Her demon name, the name of the demon inside her. I like that a lot. And that's also, through this feud, turned Allie, aka Cherry Bomb, into kind of a demon slayer thing, as she's trying to slay the demon that is Rosemary, and decided to make her name Allie after, I think, it's a reference to Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I'm not sure. I've never seen Buffy, so I don't know. But yeah, she's now Allie the Demon Slayer. I like that. There's, actual, meaning behind the name change instead of saying, hey, that's their TNA names. We're going to call them that now. Now, if only they had they could explain why they're calling Pepper the Body Braxton Sutter now, which is his TNA name. I might have missed that one, actually. I'm not sure. But onwards to the actual match. This was nothing like I was expecting. Because when you think Rosemary, you see her, she's a demon, she has her face painted with all the blacks and the whites and the red blood, and she's crazy, she's, hitting herself on the head, she feels no pain, all that stuff. You would not, in the least in the slightest bit expect, at least I didn't, expect her to do anything comedic in the ring. Not to have a comedy match, you know. It seems like a very, very serious character. Well, we were all proven wrong this time. This was a fucking hilarious match. This was a comedy match through and through. And I have to say, before I get into this, the only real thing I have to say against this match is there wasn't much actual wrestling. It was more, you know, shenanigans within the comedic realm of the match. But as far as like actual wrestling, there really wasn't much of it, which was a slight letdown. But I still thoroughly enjoyed this match. Maybe it's my bias towards Rosemary. I don't freaking know. But yeah. So, let's get to the notes, because there's a lot of things that happened to this. First of all, Mike Rollins entered the ring with some swimming goggles on his head. They're important for later. The opening segment of the match was basically Rollins taunting him with his superior strength over Rosemary. Taunting her. Or excuse me, them, since they are multiple entities. I'm just going to say her. Kayfabe. I like it. I seriously like kayfabe. Yeah, he's constantly taunt Rosemary after, you know, overpowering her in little lockups. She would bring out a couple chairs. He would back the hell off and say, okay, I'll fight you if you take away the chairs. More taunting. And then Rosemary has had enough. She just walked to the back. She's like, nope. Except she came back with a gun. We've now had 2 guns in this event. Different guns. She was about to shoot Mike Rollins with a gun. The ref pulled up the X. And that would bring out Jimmy Corderas. This is why he was important to mention in the opening match. For Jimmy Corderas has had to deal with 2 guns now in this one night. Damn Jimmy. This would end up turning into a therapy session with Corderas setting up chairs and ordering Rollins and Rosemary to sit in the chairs and talk it out while Rosemary held the gun this whole time. Yeah. This was insane. There were shoot the bitch chants directed, you know, Mike Rollins is the bitch. Rosemary was, you know, definitely involved with that, as she would tease shooting the bitch, Mike Rollins. Oh man, this is great. But yeah, we just kind of had a group therapy session right in the middle of the match between Jimmy Corderas, Mike Rollins, and Rosemary. Oh my goodness. It's great. Like, you gotta watch it. That's all I gotta say. You have to watch it. It was hilarious. Like I said, it's on demand. .smash-wrestling.com. Free for 2 weeks. Watch it. Yeah. So, things get settled down, calmed down, thanks to good old Jimmy Corderas. He ends up making Rosemary pinky promise that she wouldn't use the gun. She put the gun just kind of ringside. She wouldn't use it. Apparently that pinky promise was very violent, as she actually hurt Jimmy with the pinky promise. Which was great, but as soon as the second Jimmy Corderas walked to the back, out of sight of Mike Rollins, he went after the attack again, but immediately regretted that when he saw he just kind of angered the demon. Then we had some actual wrestling. Oh yeah, that's right. I just noticed something in my notes that Jimmy also managed to do. He managed to make those 2 shake hands, which they were reluctant, especially Rosemary, which put on some great reluctant faces. Did I mention the thing I love most about Rosemary is her putting 100% even more into her character? It was fantastic. But yeah, we had some actual, wrestling spilled out to the outside. In which case, I want to keep calling her Courtney Rush because that's what she's been called in Smash, but no, it's Rosemary. Rosemary ends up going under the ring and dragging Mike Rollins to hell with her. But that was short-lived as Rollins, got out of there and attacked her some more. Tried to do some neck submissions on her, which had absolutely no effect on her, as she was just kind of like, motioning Rollins to kind of like, can you move her neck that way? Can you move it that way? That would make it feel better. It was really, really enjoyable. It's basically a can you crack her neck, buddy? One of my favorite moments from this match was her motioning to like have Rollins kind of crack her neck one way, and then it zoomed up, like the camera zoomed on her face, and Rollins would actually move her neck the way she was wanting, and just the immediate oh yeah like reaction to it. That's exactly what she did. She just went oh yeah and gave a thumbs up. One of my favorite moments of the match, absolutely. But yeah, Rollins tries a few more submissions, realizes that has absolutely no effect on Rosemary, as apparently it is one of those times where she can't feel pain. So instead of trying to dish out physical pain, he tried to go for emotional pain instead, calling her a freak, saying that she's going to die alone because nobody loves her, which seemed to work, but it ended up being just a ruse to kick Rollins in the face. Had more shenanigans, more wrestling. They both ended up on the ground, and Hack and I went back and forth between Rollins sitting up, hitting Rosemary with a headbutt, Rosemary falling back, doing her resurrection thing, which is so much cooler than a sit-up, I swear to God. If you haven't seen Rosemary's resurrection move, this is what I call it. I don't know what actually is, like, considered to be called, but I say resurrection. It's fantastic. But, yeah, they would go back and forth, trading headbutts, Rollins sitting up, Rosemary resurrecting, just going back and forth. Eventually, they would go to a headbutt spot, similar to like the old Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn punch spot, except they were just trading headbutts and headbutts. And, yeah, eventually Rollins would get the upper hand, but one last really great spooky looking resurrection where she was actually laughing on her way up, which would spook the hell out of Mike Rollins. He would keep trying to kick her down, but she kept going back up. It was great. So Rollins decides to, hey, the gun's still here. He grabs the gun, but instead of going to shoot her, he just beats the crap out of Rosemary's face with the gun. Yeah, that happened. But she still kept rising. It was great. So he goes to, kind of prepares to hit her with the gun once more. Rosemary goes for the mist. He covers her mouth, blocking the mist. Saying no, hits her with a big boot, and goes and grabs his goggles. Yep, that's why he got the goggles, because of the Asian mist. So he puts the goggles on. Rosemary hits the mist, but the goggles protect him as they do nothing, which leaves Rosemary a little bit confused, but quickly gets a perfect plan. And she seals Mike Rollins' fate with a kiss. A poison kiss. As, yeah, green blood, I guess, comes out of Rollins' mouth after the poison kiss. It was a poison kiss. And with one final cry, pretty much a death cry, of, the goggles do nothing! Rosemary hits a huge spear on Rollins, gets the pin, 1, 2, 3. Rosemary wins a freaking hilarious match. Like I said, you wouldn't expect a character like Rosemary, being a demon and all, to do a comedy match, but you are wrong. This was a fantastic comedy match. I thoroughly enjoyed it. it was even better the second and third time I watched it. Because, like, I knew what was going to happen, but I was looking out for, at that point, you look out for, like, smaller details. I'm like, ooh, what about this part of this spot? Like, that's where I found, like, stuff like the, oh, yeah, thing during the next stuff. It was great. It was so great. Yeah. I'm going to shut up about Rosemary now and move on to the next match, which was a triple threat tag match of the unlikely team of Scotty O'Shea and Brent Banks, who were part of a team so they don't kill each other, basically. The second team was Matthew St. Jacques and Thomas Dubois, also known as the Tabernacle de Team, or TDT. And then the third entrants were the Super Smash Brothers, Evil Uno and Stu Grayson. This is another solid match. Triple threat tag matches always confuse me just because the way they are. Having 3 teams but only 2 men can be in the match at once. It I don't know. It's weird. The rules for it are weird, at least in my opinion. This was another Jimmy Corderas ref match, because he gets all the fun matches, apparently. They had the typical Scotty O'Shea and Brent Banks not being on the same page, arguing with each other. At one point there was going to be a brawl between all 6 men, but some the fuck how Jimmy Corderas stopped it. I don't know how. I guess he's just that good. I mean, he somehow got a freaking demon to shake the friend of her mortal, her arch enemy's hand, so Jimmy Corderas is the shit, man. But yeah, there was this was another enjoyable match. We had Brent Banks countering a suplex done by the Smash Bros into a double DDT on both of the Smash Bros, which was really enjoyable. Pretty much kind of landed on the ropes and used the ropes as leverage to hit the DDT on the Smash Bros. I like that a lot. Eventually, Banks and O'Shea finally got on the same page and did a bunch of double team offense together, including a suicide dive together. It was actually really good. They cleaned house and they fucked shit up, but that wasn't the end, as TDT would get the advantage in the match and end up throwing all 4 of the other competitors into the same corner, because why not? Not like just whipping them into the corner, throwing them in there one by one by one. There was a vicious speaking of TDT, they did a huge double team move, which was a pretty much a diving lariat, because O'Shea was upside down into a power bomb, which O'Shea actually kicked out of, which was insane. I put a note in here that just says shit got crazy, as in things broke down. Everybody was hitting everyone with everything. But at the end, the Smash Brothers would end up picking up the win with a vicious combination of a punt kick into a pile driver. Ooh, that looks so nasty. Just especially the punt kick. Like, the dude's in a pile driver position and he just gets kicked in the frickin' face and then dropped on his neck immediately after. It was so vicious. But yeah, Super Smash Bros. Pick up the win in a very enjoyable triple threat tag match. We'll see what happens further between the O'Shea and Banks team as they kind of, continued their story and feud and stuff within that match. But they ended up getting on the same page at some point. It was good. I liked it a lot. Then we had the main event of the event. There weren't a lot of matches on this card, it seemed, but it was a 2.5 hour show. It was really enjoyable. So our main event was a hardcore match between Tyson Dukes, you might know him from the Cruiserweight Classic, and Jesse Amato, who is apparently a kind of big hardcore match guy. Came out to the ring. He brought a table with him during his entrance. Yeah, he just kind of set it there. This match kind of started very slow, and it stayed slow for quite a while. Like, probably longer than it should have. Of course, you know, we always got to start with a bunch of mat wrestling, which Dukes actually dominated that part of the match, but it went on for a few minutes too long. Like, the first third of about half-hour match was just mat wrestling. Eventually they would go outside, and Tyson Dukes would set up Amato, just lay him on top of a bar and kick the shit out of him, his head, which was really nice. The interesting thing is, the first weapon used in this hardcore match was tape. During the mat wrestling part, Tyson Dukes really worked on the arms and mostly the hands of Amato, so, you know, take his hands out, he can't grab weapons and use them. Amato would try to tape up his hands to relieve some of the pressure, and he ended up using that tape as offense as well, as he finally got the upper hand on Dukes by choking him with the tape. But Dukes would get the advantage again, do some more mat wrestling, and then hit a big superplex on Amato. But not just a superplex. As soon as he did that, he rolled both himself and Amato outside the ring and hit another suplex onto the outside on the concrete floor. It was a really good sequence of moves there. That was brutal. Amato would get some steam back. When he did that, he would hit Dukes with a DDT on a chair. He would set up the table to try to throw Dukes through the table, but that wouldn't work. Eventually, he just kind of left for a while, but he came back with the great equalizer, a barbed wire board. Yep, bringing out the barbed wire because, you know, hardcore, bro. So yeah, he would bring out this barbed wire board. He would set it up between two chairs, making a little makeshift table. A bunch of teases of throwing Dukes and them or himself onto the board. Eventually, Dukes would kind of get the upper hand. He would hit Amato with a Death Valley driver, first through the table that was propped up, stood up against the turnbuckles, against the corner. And then he would immediately follow that up with another Death Valley driver onto the barbed wire board. Yep, right onto the barbed wire. He would pick up the win. He would get the pin. 1, 2, 3. Tyson Dukes would win. A good match. Like I said, I think the mat wrestling part with Dukes just working the arms and hands of Amato went on for a little too long. It was fairly slow for most of it, but finally, once it picked up steam and the weapons got involved, things picked up a little bit. It was overall, it was a good match. It wasn't the best match of the show, and I'm not just saying that as a Rosemary fanboy. I think overall the best, like, actual match was probably the triple threat tag. But, you know, this was a good match. I enjoyed it. You know, both guys put on a great show. You know, they hit some big spots with the table and the barbed wire and the DDT on a chair. By the way, the barbed wire. But yeah, Dukes won the main event. But we're not done there, as he decided to grab a microphone and just kind of, you know... Excuse me. Sneeze. He would, he would compliment Jesse Amato on his, abilities, who, by the way, was just kind of standing there with the barbed wire wrapped around himself. It kind of came off the board, and he just kind of was wrapped around it. One of the fans actually heckled Tyson Dukes as he was beginning to speak into the mic, which he kind of played off and was pretty entertaining. But yeah, that was good. They were going to hug, but considering Jesse was covered in barbed wire, they just settled for a handshake. And that's that. Except Dukes was visited by one Mr. Kevin Bennett and the Kevin Bennett Experience, since, they have an ongoing feud. With Bennett, considering Dukes washed up and all that, they would, of course, the Kevin Bennett Experience would beat down Tyson Dukes, but not without some, offense from Dukes, but he would eventually get beat down. Bennett demands that the ref ring the bell for a match, or call to have the bell rung for a match. He wants a match, but the ref refuses, so the Muscle decides to just take out the ref and take his shirt and ref this match. He would, command the commentary guys, who was also the bell men, timekeeper, because why not, to ring the bell, but they refuse, because I think one of the commentators is like, one of the guys that runs a Smash, so he's like, this is not a match, no, I'm not doing it. So Big Tank would grab the bell, and he would ring it himself. So he rang the bell. Bennett pins Dukes for a 1-2-3 count by the Muscle. So he would win a match, in air quotes. And then he would finally force the announcer to announce him as the victor of the match, to complete this. And, call Tyson Dukes washed up. It's continuing that feud. Once again, Kevin Bennett stands tall thanks to Kevin Bennett Experience. Tyson Dukes gets beat the fuck down. And that's how Smash Uncensored ends. Yeah, it was a great show. I enjoyed it a lot. I know I'm not the best at talking about things and expressing opinions, which why the fuck am I doing a podcast if I'm not good at those things? Shut up. This is I would just like to bring the attention to Smash Wrestling. So yeah, this is a great show. I loved it. I love the comedy matches with Space Monkey and what's his face, the Great Mustache, as I'm gonna call him, and Rosemary and Mike Rollins. The actual normal matches were great, or the multi-team matches were great, very enjoyable. Dukes and Amato, like I said, probably one of the weaker parts of the show, as I've already explained 100 times, but it was still a good match. Overall, it was a great show. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and like I said, I think you guys should support Smash Wrestling, because I do, and I like the wrestling, but, that's just me. So, I believe that's all I have to talk about on this week's very late Extra Bagels. Next week, we're going to move on. We're of course, going to have our weekly TNA Impact discussion, with the highlight being Delete or Decay, aka Final Deletion 2. Like I said in the comments, please let me know. Are you going to delete, or are you going to be like me and are on the Death Dealer's side and going to decay? And also, if you happen to be listening to this and actually do watch Smash Wrestling, or even attend it, what did you think of Smash Uncensored? I'd really like to know. Your feedback is appreciated, because we like ya. But yeah, next week I'll be talking about, of course, that, and I'm also going to talk about the other Smash event that was released after I finally got to Uncensored, and that was Smash's so far biggest event of the year, Super Showdown 4, which features the no disqualification match between Rosemary and Allie. Yeah, that's going to be great. So that'll do it for this week's Extra Bagels. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the Bagel Club channel if you want to see more content. You can follow me at Twitter at RhinoGT4. And yeah, I'm Crazy Ryno on behalf of the rest of the Bagel Club. Signing out here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next week.